Senate Committee on the Review of the Constitution comes face to face with the people as the process to alter the 1999 Constitution begins. House of Representatives Special Summit on National Security is expected to come up with a practicable solution to the worsening insecurity. This is the Hallowed Chambers. I am Tijesu Adiwi. The creation of an additional state in the southeast, power devolution, state police, and a special status for Lagos were among issues that came to the fore when the Senate Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution held public hearing in the various geopolitical zones across the country. Despite the knocks this review process is getting from some quarters, senators are not deterred and hopes the National Assembly will provide Nigerians with a fair and inclusive constitution that will address the challenges of the nation.
That one of the major things we might achieve in this present exercise is to amend Section 9 to provide how a new constitution will emerge.
Collected what we're supposed to collect, and we are taking them back home to start work on the amendments. We had about 48 now with Ohaneze.
The government and the good people of the Enugu State fervently support amendments in our constitution that will enhance the unity and prosperity of Nigeria in an environment where justice, fairness, and equity shall prevail.
What are the constitutional issues that agitate our minds? Popular among those issues in the Southeast, rotational presidency, state police, indigenship in a state after 10 years of residency, devolution of more powers to the states.
The outcome of the House of Representatives Special Summit on National Security may be the pathway out of the current security challenges the country faces. President of the Senate and Speaker of the House of Representatives raised the alarm that Nigeria is under threat. They insist the summit provides a platform for discussions by security stakeholders and other Nigerians in order to make far-reaching recommendations to the executive arm of government.
I want to say here that Nigeria is at a crossroad today. The very essence of the existence of this country is under serious threat. What started as simply an insurgency in 2009 or so in the northern part of Yobe has now snowballed into full-scale insurgency in the entire northeast. What was not known to us in the northwest is with us today in the form of banditry and kidnapping. The North Central, as we all know, is not saved. We suffer the clashes between the herders and our farmers. And a recent introduction in the southeast is another serious threat to the existence of this country, where government institutions are targeted. Our police, our security agencies personnel are being killed on a daily basis. Our institutions, buildings are burnt. I believe that these are threats not only to those areas, but to the entire nation.
At this time of our national history, when insecurity threatens the authority of the state and the foundations of our nationhood, when the activities of bandits, insurgents, and criminals of every stripe impede our efforts at progress and prosperity, we must confront the realization that our previous and current approaches to addressing the challenges of insecurity have not yielded desired results. Ultimately, an enduring peace depends on our ability to build a society where individuals can aspire to and achieve their righteous ambitions on the strength of their effort and regardless of the status of their birth. Yet, achieving this kind of society depends on securing the lives of our people protecting property and investment, and ensuring that people can freely traverse the length of our country without fear of danger or molestation. The legislative obligation to make laws for the good governance of the country exists alongside a duty to make sure that the policies we develop and the legislation we consider and pass address the most pressing concerns of the Nigerian people. Policies and legislation must also include the considered contributions of our citizens and be capable of meeting the highest ambitions of our nationhood. We have convened this special summit on national security to jointly, as citizens and public servants, find solutions to the problems of insecurity in our country. We are here because we know that our national ambitions will not be attained without lasting peace and security. We are here to have honest conversations about who we are, where we are, how we got here, and the hard choices we must make to guarantee a secure future for all our nation's children.
Joining us on the program is a member of the House of Representatives in person of Honorable Bamidele Salam, representing Osun State Federal Constituency. It's good to have you on the program, sir.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's talk about the ongoing Security Summit, which the House of Representatives is holding. Tell us the essence of this summit and how important it is to the country at this critical time.
Okay, well, the House of Representatives, as the parliament, at least an arm of the Nigerian parliament, believes so much that the whole essence of governance, as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution, Section 15 thereabout, is that the security and welfare of the people is the primary purpose of government. And if you observe in the last 2 years, since we were inaugurated on the 10th of June 2019, issues of security have formed more than 60% of issues that have been brought on the floor of the parliament in terms of motions, in terms of bills, in terms of other forms of engagement that we do. Now, the problems that we have in the country today are myriad, yes, no doubt, but security happens to be the most crucial of those problems. And we believe that it is not over until it is over. So we have to concentrate all our attention, all our energy in working together with the executive arm of government in finding solutions to this. And that is why, in the wisdom of the leadership of the House, a special committee of 47 members was formed by the Speaker on the 17th of March this year to brainstorm and come up with workable solutions that will, one, be presented to the executive arm of government for implementation, and also worked upon by the parliament, for those ones that need legislative attention. So the summit is an outcome of the underground work that has been done by that committee with a technical team that is made up of technocrats and experts in the security sector. And that security summit started on Wednesday and will run through until Saturday. So it is, in essence, in furtherance of our primary responsibility, which is to ensure the security and welfare of the Nigerian people.
So the common concerns that were raised during this summit is the fact that, yes, we've been holding similar summits like this. It's been talks, yet no action. What will differentiate this particular one from the others, and how many more summits, how many more security summits do we have to have before the nation gets accurate answers to the security challenges facing the nation?
Now, democracy itself is a long journey. Same with every other subset of our nationhood, the economy, the security. There is no final destination, so to say. We're always, transiting. You solve one problem, most probably another one arises, and then you tackle it. And like I said earlier somewhere today, democracy itself also is about engagement. It's about talking, it's about communication. You cannot have too much of communication, dialogue, and engagement in a proper democracy. Now, I agree with you to an extent that we have not had a lot of proactive measures to back up some of the resolutions we've had from some of the previous conferences or dialogue. But this is the first time that the House of Representatives is engaging in a summit on security. And before we went into this, the leadership of the House sought and got the buy-in of the President, who is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, who I believe strongly is also desirous of having solution to this problem, because this is not the nation that we had 20 years ago. It's not the nation we had 15 years ago. Things are getting worse in the security sector, and this is worrisome not only to the people but also to government. Look at the budget that we had in 2021. Almost 1 trillion naira voted for defense out of about 13 trillion naira in the budget. Yet, we're having like a multiplication of the threats in different parts of the country. So it is our expectation that the president who gave his consent that he was going to work together with us on this will not treat the outcome of this conversation, this summit, with levity. The moment we are done with this and we compile these resolutions and we are able to, put together those ones that need executive action to transmit to the executive action, the ones that need legislative actions in terms of either amending the existing laws or enacting new laws, we will not waste a bit of time in starting on those ones. And we're also going to make sure that the ones that need executive actions are followed through very, 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 urgently. Because, again, it is when we have security that we have a nation. As government, there are a lot of issues. One issue, let me quickly say this, has to do with the issue of proliferation of arms, small ammunition and arms. And the question has been, where do these arms come from? And it will shock you to note that from some of the presentation that we have had, some of these arms are also from our national stockpile of arms and ammunition. And that is a very, very critical issue that government needs to look at and take very immediate actions. Apart from the fact that we have porous borders and we have weak neighbors that cannot actually police their borders, and because of that, there are infiltration of arms and ammunition and drugs and so on coming in. Even from our own internal, armory, you have leakages here and there. So these are some of the issues that we need to, focus our attention on. And I assure you that by the time we finish with the summit, we're going to follow through with whatever recommendation that we're bringing out of the summit. All
right, your last point brings me to this question, the legalization of cannabis. We saw that the NDLEA chairman strongly kicked against the legalization of cannabis, which is widely supported by some state governors. What is your own take?
Sincerely, I think whoever is pushing for legalization of cannabis today is simplifying the magnitude of the problems we have on hand. Already, the problems we have on hand concerning drugs is enormous, and it's a major contributory factor to the insecurity we have in many parts of the country today. So if you legalize cannabis, I understand where they are coming from, but I want to tell you that even those nations that are going that route, I believe, will sooner or later regret it, because there is always a tendency of abuse, especially for our youthful population in a society where there are a lot of pressures. Apart from the economic pressures, you have social pressures already on people. And then you are allowing free access to a drug that can be easily abused. All drugs can be abused, no doubt about that. But this can be easily abused. It will be very counterproductive at a point like this to go that route. So I support the chairman of the NDLEA in his advocacy against the legalization of the use of cannabis in whatever manner. For now, I think it will be very counterproductive. It will rather lead to greater abuse of that substance, which will impact heavily, negatively on our social life, economic life, and of course on our national security.
All right. The Oni of Ife has suggested that one way to tackle this insecurity challenge in the country is empowering and engaging the youth. This will drastically reduce the security challenges we currently face. Yes. Does this 46-man committee agree with his position? And what is the committee doing in this regard? Okay, absolutely. You see, the common saying is that the idle hand is the devil's workshop.
we have a very expanding youthful population, and there are various dimensions to the issue of to the issue of empowering the youth. There is no greater empowerment than education. Access to education is the greatest empowerment that you can give any young person. And today, it's saddening that Nigeria has the highest number of out-of-school children in the world. 13.5 million according to UNICEF, if the figure has not changed. Now, you will see a direct correlation between insecurity and poverty and lack of access to education. If you look at the states of the Federation that have the highest number of out-of-school children, they happen to be the same states that have the highest poverty level in Nigeria and the highest case of insecurity in Nigeria. The first empowerment that we must, take seriously at all levels of government is access to education. Today, if you drive through Abuja and you get to any of the, various junctions or the traffic light, you see young boys coming around with their bowls, begging for money and begging for food. This wasn't the case in Abuja 10, 15 years ago. Now, these are the future problems that we must nip in the bud today. No Nigerian child should be on the street begging or hawking. And I think the president himself should convey a summit with the state governors and make this a very, very critical demand on them. That in any state of the Federation, no child should be seen on the street hawking or begging, for whatever reason. So apart from that is the issue of unemployment. A 33% unemployment figure, according to the latest Bureau of Statistics, report, is frightening. If you have a youthful population as much as ours, and then you have 33% of that as being unemployed, apart from almost an equal number that are underemployed, you know that you're already, providing the raw materials for, kidnappers, terrorists, and all other, bad guys to use. And this is an area where we need to refocus our plans as a country. Yes, there are quite a number of social intervention programs put in place by government. But the question is, how much of the resources devoted to that actually get to these young persons? And how much of it are, are rightly channeled to them? Now, it is better to give to teach a man how to fish than to give him fish. Empowering our young persons with requisite skills. The world has become digitalized. The world has become globalized, that a young man in Nigeria can be working for a tech company in India and earning good money. But what we end up doing is just, trying to give them what can earn them daily living. I don't think that is the real meaning of empowerment. And this is an area where we should also begin to draw attention, because if there's no security in terms of jobs, in terms of food, you can hardly ensure security in any other aspect of our life.
All right, we'll go on a short break right now. When we return, Honorable Bamidele will be telling us about giving constitutional roles to traditional rulers.
TVC News is the station of choice for news that...
And when you can't watch us, listen to us. 102.3 Max FM Lagos and 90.9 Max FM Abuja are now ranked among the most listened to radio stations in Nigeria.
In Lagos, TVC, our leading family entertainment TV channel, has a 47% market share. But this is just the start of our journey, as we plan to add even more services to entertain and inform our ever-growing audience. Thanks for being part of the TVC communication story.
It's glad to have you back. If you're just joining us, we have been speaking with Honorable Bamidele Salam, and we have been speaking on the ongoing National Security Summit hosted by the House of Representatives. Thank you for staying with us on the program today. So we're talking about, there's this talks now about giving constitutional rules to traditional rulers. What is your take, or what is the committee's take on this, and how would this stem the tide of insecurity in the country?
Well, this is one area where, we need to be more definitive. I know that a lot of people have issues with the specifics of rules that we want to give to traditional rulers. Traditional rulers have submitted different memoranda at different points in time, not just now. asking that they be duly recognized by the Nigerian Constitution and given specific roles, especially in the areas of security. And ordinarily, I don't have any problem with that. The committee is taking the suggestion in its stride and trying to look at in what specific areas. And one of the areas which one of the expert that came to speak with us yesterday brought up is the area of the early warning systems. The early warning system is one of the measures that nations put in place to forecast threats and prevent such. And because our traditional rulers are domiciled in their various communities, they also earn a lot of respect from the community. Apart from the fact that they are domiciled there, they also earn respect and earn the confidence of the community. It is believed that they have easier access to information on potential threat. But because the responsibilities that they have is almost like the responsibility of every other citizen. Yes, if you know that there's something that's likely to go wrong, you make sure you raise with the police or the civil defense or whatever. That it will have been better if they are maybe formed into a kind of a committee that works with the local government on the internal security of each area. So if in that regard we need to define their roles in that respect, even though in most communities today they still play those roles, but it's not as if it's really in a formal way. So what they are asking for is that we should formalize that role that will make them an integral part of the local security arrangement, especially in activating our early warning systems so that we can forecast potential threats, and then through that, we can stop the threat. In another area where they will also be very useful, to my mind, is in the area of vetting the kind of people that we also employ into our security agencies.
The collapse of local government systems as well as improved funding for security agencies is one of the critical and major issues that is being raised during this National Security Summit. Does your committee or do you agree with this position?
Absolutely, I do. Incidentally, I was a local government chairman myself. I was a local government chairman for 3 years in Osun State. And when I go to the local government today, what I see there is unfortunate. The local government system has become comatose, is paralyzed, they have taken life entirely out of the local government system. And what role do local governments play? They are like the first point of contact to the average citizen. That is where the primary health centers are supposed to be run. That is where the issue of rural roads are supposed to be fixed. That is where a farmer that is looking forward to having an extension service or input like fertilizer is supposed to come. Today, the local government only exists in name. In fact, they cannot even, paint their own offices. Most local governments are just like entering a forest today. I know that for my state, if I don't know of any other place. I know that's the same thing almost everywhere in the country. And this is very, very unfortunate. This is not the way to go. The framers of our constitution who put that section 7 there, saying that the system of local government administration by democratically elected government shall be guaranteed, know what they're saying. The 1976 reform of local government was also a product of our many years of, governmental experience to show that the nearer a government is to the people, the more effective and the more efficient it is. Now, I'm representing a constituency in Osun. I'm here in Abuja. I go home maybe once in 2 weeks to be with my constituent. If there are any emergencies within those 2 weeks, it will be very hard for anybody to, board a vehicle or take a flight from Osun to come here. But they can walk up to the local government chairman in his house. They can see their councillors. They can see their supervisors and lay complaints. So this is also very, very closely tied to the issue of insecurity. As a local government chairman, we were responsible for the maintenance of the divisional police officers, the state security service office in our local government, the civil defense office in our local government. Today, they can no longer do that. In my own local government today, they wanted to fix something in the civil defense office. They had to write me that they needed my help to come and do it because local government says they have no money. And indeed, they do not have, because the system has been paralyzed by the kind of knee-jerk policies, especially of the state governors. And this is one area that I think we need to prick the conscience of everyone who is occupying that position of responsibility at the state level. The houses of assembly are empowered by law to make laws to regulate local government. But what do we have today? The houses of assembly are appendage of the state governors. So without reactivating local government and empowering them to play those roles, I am afraid that we will not be able to tackle these problems of insecurity in any significant manner.
Okay, Honorable, it is one thing to hold this kind of summit, and it is another thing for the recommendations to be adopted and implemented. That's the most important thing. So what is going to be different about this one? What is the assurance you're giving Nigerians that this time around, you're going to see through, you're going to ensure that these recommendations at the end of the day are going to be implemented? Okay,
like I said earlier, two-pronged. We have those ones that need executive action. We have the assurance from Mr. President that the recommendations that need executive action will be accepted and implemented, and we are holding him to that promise that he made. The ones that need legislative actions, I can assure you, the Speaker of the House of Representatives and indeed the whole leadership of the House have agreed that there is no other thing that is more important than this at the moment. So whatever we need to do, including suspending every other thing, to tackle this headlong, we are going to do it. So I assure you, in the next few weeks, you will begin to see the result of those recommendations in our own legislative work in the House of Representatives.
So what should we expect next after the summit from the House of Representatives?
After the summit, we're going to have the report of the summit. We're going to lay the report of the summit before the Parliament for adoption as a document of the House. And of course, we'll begin the implementation. And as we begin the implementation, we're going to make sure that we put timeline to them, so that it's not just something that is open-ended, so that people can actually track whatever we're doing. And the ones we're going to lay before the executive too, as the arm of government that does oversight, we are going to ensure that we increase on our oversight functions on the military, on the police, and other security outfits to ensure that we are able to tackle this insecurity headlong and restore sanity to our country.
That's the program this week. Do not forget to follow TVC News on all our social media platforms. Also follow me on Twitter. My handle is @TJSuAdeoye TVC. Thank you for watching. See you next time.